Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of LMScast. I'm Joshua Millage, and I'm joined today with my good friend Christopher Badgett. And today we're talking about something really important, and it's all about design. And we're going to give you some WordPress-based LMS theme design ideas. And I want to start it off because I think a lot of us think we have to add a lot of elements to our design to make it really important and flashy and to get people interested. And that's just not the case. Actually, as Chris, you're going to recommend, you suggest doing completely the opposite and being a minimalist. So what do you mean by that? How do you be a minimalist with your course, the visual design of your course?
Well, for a WordPress-based LMS, we talk about design a lot, and we're going to do more episodes in the future about instructional design and these designing learning and these things like flipped classrooms and all these other ways of looking at learning and blended learning online. But that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about, which is also a rabbit hole we've seen people go down, not just in LMS, but in the WordPress space in general, is like, oh my God, which theme am I going to use for my WordPress website? And people spend a lot of time looking and shopping around for WordPress themes.
Right.
In this episode, we're going to talk specifically about a WordPress LMS theme and what you want to look for if you're into minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
And let me start off by saying the reason minimalism is really important in e-learning is because when you get somebody into your site, either before they buy the course or sign up and subscribe, or while they're inside the course itself, minimalism is great because you're not distracting people with bright colors and fancy images around the content. You want the focus to be on your actual course content, which may include video, audio, and text. And that's why minimalism is so powerful, just to keep the focus on the learning and not on the design.
Right. I think it's huge. I think there's a couple plugins that have recently been released that do a really good job of keeping the minimalist focus. And my hat's off to actually a competitor kind of ours, which is Derek Halpern and Zippy Courses, because that theme that comes with that plugin is really beautiful in my mind. I think they did an incredible job of just making that really clean cut and making the courses stand out on their own 2 feet, which is huge. So hats off to those guys. I know that we have plans in the progression for Lifter to create a really minimalistic focused theme that people can use or choose not to. They can integrate it into their own sites. But I think the huge part about it is just keeping the focus on the course content and not distracting the course content. That's why people buy. That's why people are with you. That's why they're students, is they want your content. They don't want the the crazy, if you're thinking about the early 1990s or late 1990s, early 2000s, the arrows here and the highlighted stuff. It's like we don't need that anymore. We just need the course content. So what are some other ideas, Chris, that you would suggest for listeners?
Well, if you get into minimalist design, it's actually really challenging. It sounds like, oh, I just put less on there, but it's really an art to like what to take away.
Yeah.
But let me back into how you can do that and say that just because you're minimalist and taking things away or not putting some things there, you still have a huge opportunity for branding and injecting design into the user experience. And a couple key areas of that, I can just give 2 really great examples. One is typography, which includes your font selection. That can be huge in the general vibe of your site. And I never recommend using more than 2, 3 maximum fonts on your site. And even in most cases, 1 font for everything is great. If you want to do 2 fonts in web design, and this comes through in learning management systems when you have like a headline and then the actual body text or the paragraph text below that, you can kind of have a different font for the headings, they're called, and then a complementary font for the actual body. But focus on making it readable. Don't get too creative on it so that it's hard to read. And think about the fact that someone may be experiencing your course on a smartphone, so that font needs to be really readable. And if you want to look at some great Google Web Font combinations, which Google Web Fonts are free to use, you can just Google that, Google Web Font combinations, and you can find some great examples of complementary fonts that go well together. And within fonts, it's also like the size you select. If you have an older audience, maybe you want to go like to a bigger font, like 16 or even 18 pixels. Yeah,
Well, one
go
thing
ahead.
I just want to jump in here, Chris, is I just read an article about conversion, which is not, I don't think, the primary focus of people who are learning management systems. But one thing that we talk a lot about is engagement, and readability is a big part of that. And it was suggesting that you should use a sans serif font for the headline and a serif font for the body text, and create that variation between the two just for readability. The eye sees the differentiation in the two font styles, and it
Hmm.
allows you to see the sections and the headers and things a little bit easier. And I do think that that's important, though, to consider when you're putting together the visual design, because you want the eye to be able to track through the content. You don't want it to be fatigued. You don't want it to look like a wall of text. You don't want it to, people to be like, I get so, this is one of my biggest frustrations actually with a big player in the market, Blackboard, is they lock down these styles. And it's really
Yeah.
frustrating because you can't modify the look and feel. So if you take a course from Phoenix, well, I think University of Phoenix is on some other system now, but I've taken a lot of online courses in my day, and they all look the same. And then your eye, you just like get tired of it, man. You just I want to do something else. So I think it's important to have some slight variation, but take into consideration that it is important to make things beautiful. So
Absolutely. And that's a great point about avoiding the wall of text. Another thing you can do is just focus on the spacing between the letters, in addition to font size. And also, like Joshua is saying, to avoid a wall of text, consider just using bullet points more, and more headlines and subheadlines to break it up. Because the reality is, online, even in WordPress-based LMS online courses, is people scan. So if you want to capture them while they're scanning and not intimidate them with walls of text, use those other things in your actual content, and that comes through as a form of design and branding. The other big one I just want to bring to light is, if you were only going to focus on two things for a minimalist design, I would say typography, which we just discussed, and then color. And really, when it comes down to color, keep your color palette simple. And I like the idea of the action color for links and buttons. So if somebody can click on something, make that just one color so that they know, okay, here's something that's bright blue, or here's something that's green or pink or whatever it is, but just use only that color for links and buttons and things of that nature. And then the actual text content itself, go with something pretty plain like a gray. And that's
mhm.
in minimalist design, a big mistake people make is they think in terms of black and white. But if you really open up your mind to the full spectrum of grays, you can create incredible design, especially for just body fonts, by using different shades of gray that look great and elegant and high end and polished.
I love that. Well, I think we've given a lot of great design tips today, and I hope people take this into consideration, because I think the LMS community as a whole could use a little bit of a design upgrade. So I think
Yeah.
there's some definite key takeaways here. But do you have any final thoughts for the audience, Chris?
That's it. If you want to explore fonts, just go ahead and type in Google Web Fonts, and there's a collection of like 650 fonts there that you can play around with, and start brainstorming ideas, and that's a great place to start.
That's fantastic. Well, if you haven't already, head over to lmscast.com and subscribe to our email newsletter, so that we can update you every time there's a new episode, as well as some of the cool new developments that we're seeing in the LMS space. So hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.